Welcome to Konoha Crush, a clandestine effort to exhaustively research and document events occurring in and around the village hidden in the leaves. I'm Ruby.
I'm Gwen.
Hey Gwen, how's it been?
Oh my god. Pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah? Been up to anything?
I started reading Windbreaker.
Okay. I know what that is, but you should say what that is maybe.
Yeah, it's a manga. It's sort of like a shonen manga about a kid who enrolls in this school that has a really bad reputation as the big delinquent school where everyone beats each other up because he wants to fight people and be the strongest and stuff. But he shows up and it turns out that 2 years ago the person in charge of the school decided to make everyone the village heroes instead. And so he joins this gang of boys that just guard the town and protect people from other gangs. It's pretty fun.
That's pretty fun. Yeah. I've seen people talking about that. I mean, you included now. I don't know if much to contribute. I've been meaning to check it out. I haven't read it yet, but if it's good, I'll maybe move that up my list of things I'll maybe just get to one day.
Uh-huh. I mean, it is just very forward about the whole fighting as a means of communication against your opponent. Right.
And I can get on board for that.
Winning isn't just being about stronger. You have to be rhetorically correct.
All right.
Is a means to victory, and I think that's really fun.
That does seem fun, yeah. Again, I hope that if one thing comes through on this podcast is that I have a deep, abiding love of fight comic bullshit.
Oh yeah.
I love communicating feelings through an exchange of fists. I love all of that.
Ruby, you would love this so much. It's such a good comic.
Maybe start reading it after we finish recording even.
Nice.
And maybe I talk about next time we record, and we actually have something we both watch to talk about for once.
Yeah.
Or read, I guess, in this case.
Yeah. God, what else? It's been a minute since we recorded. I know we keep saying this, but it's winter.
It's winter. Anything could happen.
So I've been thinking a lot about Spider-Man recently.
Yeah?
No reason in particular. I just, sometimes you think about Spider-Man.
Oh, you don't need to explain this to me.
Okay. Specifically, I was thinking about, how, right after Spider-Verse came out and people were making their, Spider-Man OCs?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, I just caught the bug, and I've been thinking about it a lot.
So have you made a Spider-Man OC, or are you just considering it?
I'm considering it.
Have you been doing research? Have you been,
Yeah, I think I've got, I think I figured out what kind of spider I want to go with and what, powers that would convey, beyond the normal
you've been doing research
Spider-Man's...
about, spiders and not Spider-Men.
Okay, well, they go hand in hand.
Sure. I guess I was just oh, maybe Gwen would like a Spider-Man comic or something, but no. No, you just looked about spiders.
I was thinking about spiders to the end of generating a Spider-Man. Okay, so
Okay, what's your favorite spider?
Favorite spider, God.
I could answer this question. I'm putting you on the spot, though.
Okay, well, I'll tell you the one that I went with to kind of skirt the question.
That's fine.
So you know about tarantulas?
Yes, I'm aware of tarantulas.
Okay, cool.
No, that's it. Okay, you were going somewhere with this.
No, I was, but I thought a pause there would be really funny. So tarantulas do this thing where they have hair on their body, and they can shake it off, and it's irritating. And so I thought my Spider-Man would have the ability to grow and shoot spikes and debris.
Okay.
And specifically what made me think about this is if any of you listening out there are digital artists, you'll know of these little gloves that you get, so your pinky finger and the meat of your hand doesn't cause friction against the screen when you're drawing. And it's just it's a loop at the wrist, and then it covers up your pinky and your ring finger, but leaves the middle finger, index finger, and thumb bare. And I thought that would be a really cool Spider-Man glove design to have the bare fingers. And I thought it would be cool if there was a reason for that, because you would need a skin to grow the spikes and throw them.
All right, yeah, I can go with that.
That's all I've got so far.
All right, I mean that's like a foundation, right? Like maybe this is like maybe this is apocryphal. I don't know where this comes from. I do know that like it's at least said that like part of the discussion that went to creation of Spider-Man is like, okay, well, we need to give him like a cool distinctive power that like stands out. So
Yeah.
if you think about it, you're right up there with the greats and making spider themed guys.
Thank you. And besides all that, I have just been reading an absurd amount of Yuri manga. And that's going to be my little secret.
Nobody gets to know which ones.
Yep.
You're going to take that secret with you to your grave.
Yeah, well, maybe not my grave.
Whose grave?
What have you been up to?
Let's see, what have I been up to? I don't know. I always feel so deflated when somebody asks me this question. It takes me a while to remember. Like, I mean, I think that's been on my mind is that, like, recently Tropical Rouge Precure ended, which is, like, I mean, I'm a fan of Precure. I come on this podcast and I talk about, like, Naruto and I talk about Naruto staff, but, like, I don't know shit about Naruto staff in comparison to what I know about Precure staff. It's just, like, something I've been paying attention to for a long time, something I've been very interested in. I think it's, like, a great, like, series of shows with a fascinating production history, and I think that Tropical Rouge Precure in particular is just, like, a fantastic show. It's got a great cast of characters. There's, like, a funny mermaid girl that everybody loves, and, like, you could love that funny mermaid girl, too, if you watched it.
I do love that funny mermaid girl. I have not watched the show.
That's how it goes for a lot of people, I find.
So it's over, huh? How was the ending? Are you satisfied? Are you happy?
Yeah, I'm really satisfied. I think it really like I think it really like managed to bring everything home, and I think it like it winds up hitting some pretty standard like this is the end of a magical girl show beats, but I think it like has its own spin on them, and like it managed to like bring it together in a way that feels very satisfying for what that show is doing.
Because well, I mean, I understand that Precure has a lot of history behind it, and like a lot of backing, a lot of support, to where like I don't know that I don't know anything about this show. I don't know anything about its like production or anything like that. But I would imagine that if a show were to have these problems, I would not think it would be like a Precure, in that like a lot of shows don't get to have the endings that they want.
Just because of, like, production issues? Or?
Yeah, just because of production issues, or, like, just all kinds of things that can happen. Like, and endings are hard to do a lot of the time.
Yeah, and, like, I mean, Precure is just, like, that is, like, a production that has just kind of been running nonstop for, like, I don't know, like, I guess it's, like, nearing 20 years now. And so, yeah, like, it's, I mean, like, the amount of staff and, like, the amount of, like, the production of Precure isn't where it's been at its height, but I think it's still, like, it's still consistent and solid, and it's still, like, still has some incredible heights, and it's still, like, it's not, like, a show that's in a position where it just kind of, like, explodes at the end and, like, needs to delay its final episode by half a year or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. It's always nice when a show you like has, like, a good ending. Because, like, endings are something that, for me, like, make or break my memory of, like, a whole fucking thing. Just because it's like the last moment you have with something, and that's going to flavor how you remember it for the rest of forever.
Yeah, totally. I can see that. I was like trying to think of a thing that like I remember like, I had like a really good ending, a really bad ending that like totally like shifted my feelings on the thing. I don't know if I have one, but like
well, I mean, I do. It's pretty recent. Wonder Egg Priority. Like,
yeah, I didn't watch the ending of that show, so
yeah. I mean, like it didn't have one, so
yeah. I mean, it seems like it worked out okay for me then.
Yeah. I mean, like. I don't know. I don't want to go into talking about Wonder Egg right now, just because we have a whole fucking podcast to record.
We do have a whole podcast to record, and like we have like good anime to talk about this week, I think.
Yeah, we do. Fuck. Oh my god.
There's some great episodes of Naruto. Do you want to get into them?
Yeah, we can get into them straight to the recaps.
Okay.
Episode 17, White Past, Hidden Ambition. Naruto's real mad about Sasuke getting got and moves in to kill Haku as he slips back inside a mirror. Naruto breaks the mirror and Haku jumps out to get him. Naruto catches Haku and punches him in the head so hard he goes flying through another mirror and hits the ground a good 10 yards away. Haku stands up as the rest of the mirrors break around Naruto, and he accepts his death as Naruto comes in for one final hit. But Naruto stops short, his rage gone when he sees Haku's mask fall away, to reveal the nice kid he met in the woods. Meanwhile, Kakashi does a cute little ribbon dance with a summoning scroll. Alright, Ruby, who worked on this episode?
Okay, so this episode was storyboarded and directed by Toshiyuki Tsuru. I talked about Tsuru a bit before in the first episode of this podcast that we've advised you not to listen to. So I should probably like give the basic rundown of who he is. So Toshiyuki Tsuru is a director who has like for a long time been affiliated with various Studio Pierrot projects. He had worked with the director of Naruto, Hayato Date, on like several of the shows he worked on immediately prior to Naruto, and like carried over to this one. He directed like a whole bunch of iconic like openings and episodes and endings for Naruto, including like both the first opening and ending of the show. I think Tsuru is notable for like a few things. I think the first thing is that he has just like a really strong understanding of like what makes Naruto work. I think almost all of his episodes have like just do a really great job of expanding on the source material and like pulling on the strongest threads of that and like building them into something that really comes together and works really and just like coheres into something that is like I feel is in many cases stronger than what it's building off of. I feel like even if people don't like consciously know it, there's definitely like moments that they think of that are like stronger in their mind because of the work that Tsuru did in reinterpreting it for the show. Another thing about Tsuru is that he is like in this period of anime production, as like the shift into digital production was being made, he was very like quick to adapt various like techniques and really like lean into them, in many cases like very ahead of the pack in terms of like what he was doing with that. And so like I think a lot of his episodes are just like there's like it's really noticeable like the way it's composited differently if you're paying attention for that, and the way that like he's kind of leaning into some of those techniques that were fairly experimental at the time. And the third thing that I want to bring up right now is that like for most of his Naruto episodes, he is collaborating with Hirofumi Suzuki, who is one of the two character designers on this show. And so, like, which means usually when you get a Toshiyuki episode, it is an episode where, like, everything looks really good and consistent. And, like, the show is just, like, moving at, like, a much, at a much more, like, fluid and, like, consistent level, both because, like, these episodes being given priority in the production and like getting like big name animators and like the like Tsuru and Suzuki bringing their own like regular collaborators on board with them, and just like that's the degree of like animation correction and direction that comes in from Suzuki. So generally speaking, there's just like a lot going for like a Toshiyuki Tsuru and Hirofumi Suzuki episode every time it happens, pretty much.
I haven't been paying attention to any of that stuff because you are.
Mm-hmm.
I can already tell the thing you said sounds true because fuck this episode. Right?
It's good. Yeah, I also want to shout out a few animators worked on this episode. We have Nozomu Abe, who I talked about before, who is like a current ace anime over at Ufotable. We have Takahiro Chiba, who is like another extremely talented animator who is at this point I think he's best known for his really extensive work on Haikyuu. Like he is very like instrumental in like establishing like what people think of when like they think about the way that the Haikyuu anime adaptation moves, and like just has done a lot of work in that show.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've also got like a few names who are like pretty consistently like present on Naruto and are putting in good work on Naruto, and like some of them who have been on the franchise like basically from the beginning of it to now on Boruto. Like we've got specifically I'm thinking about like on this episode we have Masaru Hyoto, who is like, in addition to being an animator on this episode, is also like an animation director on it, alongside Hirofumi Suzuki and Chiyuki Tanaka.
One of these days, I'm going to start recognizing names.
I believe in you. But yes, I think that this episode looks great. I think this is probably my favorite of the episodes that we're going to be talking about this week, even if I think it's like probably like not the most iconic in a lot of fans' minds.
Yeah, I mean, like that whole first sequence in the recap, this is the part with like Naruto going apeshit and Haku doing the fucking mirror tricks, looks so good this episode.
It's so good. I mean, like, a thing I want to point out is when I talk about Tsuru's like adaptation of digital techniques and like the way that his episodes are like composited very mindfully of that, like you get a lot of like you know, when the Ninetales chakra is going a while, there's all these like distortion effects over the screen a lot of the time, and like in spite of that, like even in like fairly low resolution like files I'm watching here, like the line work is preserved, I feel like remarkably well. Like I could watch like a show that came out very recently in like 1080p, and I like in many cases would have like if there was this kind of effect going on, I feel like the line work would be presented like less consistently and appealingly. I think there's like a really strong sense of like how to present the animation in addition to like the effects that need to be there to communicate other things that are going on.
Definitely.
There's also that like really cool effect where like it's like a close up of Naruto's face and like goes all grayscale, and there's also like it's all like all the lamps like really like shaky and like radiating out. It's very cool.
Oh, it's so cool.
Like I think that like even if it's not like like most of this episode isn't action, but the little bits we do get, I think there's some really like solid and cleanly presented ideas. Like there's the bit where Naruto smashes one of the mirrors and the Haku like tumbles out of like a shard of the broken mirror to like try and get past him.
Yeah, it's oh my.
It's just like great. Like that continues over to when we get to like Kakashi, and there's like that. There's this like really like this like kind of understated piece of animation that I find really cool, where like it like zooms in on like Kakashi's hand, like unbuckling a compartment on his chest as he like pulls the scroll out of his like out and like lets it drop into his hand. And it's not the flashiest thing in the world, but it's just like nicely weighty and like well timed, and it just feels cool.
Speaking of Kakashi,
yeah,
the ribbon dance was really funny.
This is really funny. I mean, sometimes that's what you gotta do to get your dogs to appear.
Yeah, sometimes you just gotta call your dog to the gay little ribbon dance.
That's part of the contract. They're like, hey, you need to do a silly dance for us every once in a while. I do think it's very cool how, like, I mean, a lot of times when people are, like, summoning a Naruto, they'll, like, bite their thumb or something to get blood, and he just, like, swabs across his big chest wound that he got.
Yeah.
It's fucking sick.
Oh my god. Because, like, it makes sense if you're already bleeding.
Yeah, right? Like, yeah, work with what you got. Don't make yourself lose more blood. It's just efficient.
It's just efficient.
Like the Kakashi is like he notices that like some nine-tailed fox tracker shit's going on. He's like, okay, hold on, I don't have time for this. He's like, hey Zabuza, let's just try to kill each other with the next attack. Let's just be bros about it. Sonic said this, and Zabuza's like, yeah, sure, man. That's beautiful.
It is beautiful. This is... I mean, we haven't even got into the meat of it yet, but this is like if the credits were to roll right now, at this point in the episode that we're talking about, like, favorite episode of the batch.
My favorite stuff is still to come, I think, in terms of what this episode managed to draw out of the source material and, like, what it managed to present about it.
Mm-hmm. Just that whole... The whole sequence with Haku getting punched and stuff is just, like, cemented in my brain now as, like, the coolest shit ever.
That kid goes flying. He's just rolling across the bridge forever. It looks rough. It is not a good hit to take.
Oh my god. And like the mask falls away.
Mm-hmm. Right, like Naruto just like fucking stops in the middle of this charge over there, and it's like,
wait, I know this femboy. I'm sorry. This podcast was going to be my last chance to call Haku a femboy.
Okay, you got to get it out.
I had to get it out. I'm sorry. I'll apologize on Twitter too.
I'm gonna like add an extra stroke through the like headband, like the village symbol on the headband, to like signal your second exile from it. You're calling Haku a femboy.
No, you'd be the first one. You fucking left the you left the leaf. I'm still with the.
Oh right. I forgot about her lore.
All right, so with that, I guess, do you want to move on to the next?
Yeah, sure.
Haku wonders why Naruto hasn't killed him yet and questions Naruto's devotion to Sasuke. Naruto decks him. Haku explains that holding back on a defeated opponent is no mercy, and that Zabuza has no use for a weakling. Naruto questions Haku's choice of loved ones, and Haku explains that where he's from, people with Keikai Genkai are hunted down and killed out of fear, and that when his father found out his mother carried the blood, he killed her and tried to kill him. After this, Haku explains how lonely it was not having anyone in the world that needs you, and Naruto finally gets how similar they are just before Haku asks Naruto to kill him. Kakashi conjures a bunch of very good dogs to sniff out and bite Zabuza. With Zabuza on dog lockdown, Kakashi has a moment to talk about Zabuza's failed coup and show off his cool lightning blade. Naruto doesn't want to kill Haku.
Alright, God, I feel kind of bad on the previous recording being like, man, it's so awesome that Haku is like resolving to kill in this moment, and then like in this episode we immediately get him kind of like dealing with the fact that like he doesn't actually have what it needs to kill somebody, because he knows he hasn't killed Sasuke right now, and so he's just like, well shit, I guess I have to die. Like it does feel kind of bad, be like, oh man, this is an awesome moment for Haku, and that very resolve is like makes Haku feel like so crushed he feels like he doesn't deserve to keep living.
Yeah.
This is the follies of making a podcast where I like mostly remember the story beats but don't remember like everything. And
it's okay, it's what we're here for.
It's okay. It is still a cool moment, that episode. I'll stand by that. But like,
yeah.
Damn, rough for this kid.
I'm so sad. Ruby, I don't want it to be this way.
It's sad. It sucks. It's like it's not like, oh, the show is bad. It's just like, damn, this sucks. It's like this has to happen, you know?
And it's like, it's so sad because like Haku is right now teaching Naruto how to be the kind of good person that he's going to be throughout the rest of Naruto, right?
Could you elaborate on that, actually?
I think...
Because I think this is a key step in it, but I think that, like...
It's for sure a key... Yeah, I mean, it's just the whole thing of, like, it is both being someone who Naruto, like, already can relate to a lot, based off of the conversation they had in the woods prior. In like even though Naruto didn't like realize it at the time necessarily, that it's like that they did have so much in common, and also showing Naruto right now how like kind of fucked up and bad it is to live your life this way.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the thing I think is interesting about this is that, like, in this scene, you kind of see Naruto start to be convinced to kill Haku, right? Like Naruto, like, he doesn't like it, but, like, you know, he feels at least a little bit ready to do it by, like, you know, the time things wrap for Haku. Like, and that's like part of what makes it so crushing to me is like there's probably another way, but like nobody on this bridge can see it because they're all just fucked.
Because they're in it.
Just in it. I forget if it's in this episode or the next one where like Haku is in trying to convince Naruto to kill him. He's like thinking about how like if Naruto managed to like bypass this barrier of like being able to kill somebody who he like empathizes with, then like he'll become really strong, and like Haku feels some sort of like pride and hope in that, and it is just like, man, it's sad.
It's really sad. We should hurry up and go save Haku.
Shit, we gotta go save Haku. What are we doing here? Yeah, so something I think is really interesting about like something I think this episode does really well is when Haku is talking about his backstory, basically none of the imagery we see of that in this episode is in the manga at all.
Ooh. Is it depicted in the manga just as like as straight up as like Haku standing there talking?
It is, yeah, it is like literally Haku standing there talking, and like occasionally we get we there's like a panel where it's like, okay, it's mostly text bubbles, but there's like some blood splattered on some snow or something.
Yeah.
The whole scene is like basically like that, and I think that there's like a lot of like really striking imagery that like they managed to draw out of it, like
Haku fucking up his whole fucking house.
Yeah, right. Like there's like the shot where like when Haku's talking about having killed his family, like you get the sense like, oh, it's not like he like went into a rage or like had to win a fight. It's just like his house has like exploded into like a fucked up ice crystal. There's like a shot where like when Haku was talking about how his dad like tried to kill him, like you can see in the background of the shot, there's like, oh, like the rest of the people in like the place Haku lived like came by to make sure that Haku's dad killed him.
Yeah,
I think it like. I think there's a bunch of stuff that like provides this really like striking like weight and tone to
it just gives it a lot more like weight and texture in a way that's like compelling and grounding.
Yeah, for sure. Like when Haku is just like standing there like saying what happened, I mean, like you get the idea, but I think that I think that for having basically like for having like very little to like draw on, I think that Tsuru does a great job of like building something that's like very very well realized in like a very short amount of time.
Yeah, that's cool.
Another thing that is really compelling about like Haku's backstory stuff is like I think it lends a lot of weight to the sort of like crushing generational weight of like, here's why the world is bad in Naruto, where we have like Zabuza like reaching out to this kid and being like, well, I can make you into a weapon for me. And it's like, I mean, I would like to, I believe that's not just like a cynical thing that Zabuza is doing. I think I don't think that's just Zabuza being like, oh, I can take advantage of this kid. I think he's like, on some level, Zabuza is just a guy who's like, this is kind of what we all want to hear, right? Like,
fuck yeah, I'd love it if I was like a kid and some man approached me and said like, what's up, you want to be a killer?
like it's clear that this like weighed on Haku really heavily, like it fucked him up, but it's not like I don't see it as a thing where Zabuza is like willingly playing into that so much as he's just like doing the thing he knows how to do and like trying to find a place for this kid, because like Zabuza has his own horse shit, right? Because Zabuza's whole murder situation. Yeah, Zabuza. I mean, we don't really know what drove like Zabuza to kill a bunch of children to like, before he even had to for like his high school graduate or like his middle school graduation. But like, it probably wasn't because he was like, I think this is awesome. I think this is just like such a strong microcosm of like what is going on in the world of Naruto as a whole, where we have like Zabuza kind of trying to be a dad to this kid, and like he's fucking up really bad, and also like it's hard for me not to like feel like sympathetic to him also.
Yeah. I think it's really good that they introduced like a worse murder sicko so that we could sympathize with Zabuza more.
Zabuza's not a sicko at all. He's just like dramatic.
Yeah. But like, if fucking Waraji wasn't there, we wouldn't have a real one to compare him to.
Yeah, right. Like, that's the thing. It's really nice to have put in perspective. Is like we know what a sicko looks like now, and
he's got a katana.
He's got a katana, and he doesn't have much else going on.
We should save Zabuza too.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we cut back over to Zabuza and Kakashi, and Zabuza is like extremely being held in place by dogs. I feel like I talked about the Haku flashback as being the thing that's like the most changed and expanded from the manga, and I think this is like the image that makes it like the most directly translated from the manga to the anime, because it's just really good. Like there's just not much to improve on. You've got Pakun hanging from Zabuza's headband. You've got like the big fucking bulldog over Zabuza's shoulder. You've got the dog who's like got his head through the hole in Zabuza's sword that's like biting it in place. There's just so many dogs here. It's like a great little image. I love it.
I love Kakashi's dogs. I love that Kakashi is just a motherfucker who, like, if, you know, what happened with the Sharingan never happened, Kakashi would be the dog guy.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
And he'd be good at it.
Yeah, he'd be fucking good at it.
You put Kiba out of a job.
Yeah.
Kiba's like a different kind of dog guy, but...
Yeah. I mean, not that different. The only reason Kakashi doesn't bring a dog around with him all the time is because he has the Sharingan. So he's fucking... relegated dogs to trump card.
If he didn't have a Sharingan, he'd have like a really tiny dog hiding under his headband.
In his eye socket.
Yeah. Like he still lost the eye, he just didn't get the Sharingan.
Like a little chain chomp.
Yeah.
Man, I laugh at my own shit too much.
It's okay. It happens.
You wanted to talk about... I'm looking at this bullet point here, and it says Kakashi's understanding of Zabuza's deal. Yeah.
Like, there's a scene where, like, once Kakashi has Zabuza under dog lockdown, he's like, all right, I know what you're fucking about. I know what you did. I've read the reports. And he, like, starts explaining that Zabuza attempted a coup against the Mizukage, like, failed to kill him, and, like, basically, like, fled the village, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that's like fascinating to me about this is one of my favorite things that this episode does, is that like the animation that plays while Kakashi is like describing it. Like for one thing, it's like very like stylish and striking. It's all these like it's like pretty lacking in details. A lot of like outlines and like really like harsh lighting, and then the other thing about it is that like the little detail, like a lot of the little details we do get look basically like nothing in Naruto. Like when he's talking about like when like there's like this shot of like Zabuza being chased out of the Mizukage's office by like ninja, and like the ninja we see are like from like completely different like visual understanding of what ninja are.
Oh yeah,
and like
yeah, Zabuza escaped from Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah, I think it's like a Ninja Gaiden guy, and like there's this other shot of like when he's talking about how Zabuza fled with his like his sympathizers or whatever. There's this shot of like Zabuza and like 4 other guys running from like this destroyed, burning cityscape that looks nothing like the village hidden in the mist. It looks nothing like any place in Naruto. It's just this like completely different
ooh, yeah,
like style of thing. It's just
see, easy mistake. They're actually standing right up against a concrete wall. That's a mural.
I like the thing that this communicates to me like really plainly is that like when Kakashi is standing here and he's like, I know what you did. I know what your deal is. I like your shit isn't complicated. Like when we see these like visuals he's describing, like what it reveals to me is that Kakashi doesn't actually know shit. He's just kind of repeating this narrative he's heard. That's like, you know, that sort of like affirms his belief that like he's doing the right thing here. You know,
yeah.
Like when we see in Haku's flashback, when we see Zabuza leaving the village, first of all, it's not on fire. And it's not destroyed. and Zabuza only has Haku with him. And like one of those is obviously like a much more direct source of like what happened there than Kakashi being like, yeah, I heard the official reports.
Yeah, that's interesting. You think that's on purpose?
I totally think that's on purpose. Like, I really... Because I think it comes up again, like, at the end of this arc, where, like, it's very clear that Kakashi doesn't really, like, have it figured out. He doesn't really have a vision of, like, what existing in this world and being okay with it is.
Yeah.
Other than just, like, trying to get by and not worry about it too much.
So, I have a bomb to drop on you right now.
What's that?
Do you know how old Kakashi is here?
God, I feel like I, at one point, had this information on deck. He's, like, not super old. He's, like, in his 20s, right?
Yeah, he's younger than us.
Oh, God. What? No. How old is Kakashi here?
He's, like, 24, 25.
Oh, God. Okay, yeah. Like, I guess I believe that, right? Because I think it's interesting to look at this from this perspective. Like, you know, when you're reading Naruto as a teen or whatever, it's like, oh, Kakashi's, like, the cool older guy. And, like, you're reading it now, and it's like, oh, Kakashi is just kind of a dumbass. And, like, that's fine. That's, like, kind of what's good about him.
The silver hair ages him up a lot, too.
Mm-hmm. And also the fact that, like, I feel like his, like, the character we see that's, like, the closest to Kakashi's peer, like, a guy also doesn't really look like he's 25.
Yeah.
I don't know if Guy is 25. I assume they're probably about the same age. But, like,
yeah.
It definitely is easy to assume that Kakashi's older than he is.
Yeah, I mean, like, Guy and Kakashi are peers. It's safe to assume that they're, like, the same age about.
This information's out there. I just don't want to, like, start opening up the wiki and shit in the middle of a podcast.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, I was wrong. He's 26, 27.
Okay.
So he's a little bit older than me, like about as old as you.
Okay, like a little bit younger than me, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, another thing that's kind of interesting to me about, like, this is something that was like turning over in my head about, like, what Kakashi understands about, like, Zabuza's, like, Zabuza's, like, defection from the, like, the Village in the Mist, is that, like, the report is clearly that Zabuza had a bunch of guys with him, and I'm wondering if that's just, like, some kind of cover-up to be like, hey, we don't want people to know that Zabuza has, like, a kid with, like, a Genkai with him, because people are going to want to, like, take that, and we don't want that.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah.
Like, I could totally see that being the case.
It could totally be, like, an on-purpose misinformation cover-up thing. You know, especially since, like, Haku could easily do the job of, like, 10 weaker ninja.
Mm-hmm. It is definitely floated a few times in this arc that, like, Kakashi might not be able to beat Haku, right? Like, if it came down to it.
Yeah.
And they were, like, fighting on equal terms. So, like...
Fuck. Thinking about Kakashi being, like, our age,
mm-hmm.
It's making me feel kind of inadequate. I'm not nearly as cool as Kakashi.
Yeah, but you're also not, like... Think of it this way. You're also not, like, raising child soldiers, so, like...
If only I was cool enough to raise No, I don't think that for real.
Gotta be very clear. We are not pro child soldier here on this podcast.
Well,
Go ahead, you're killing me.
I would say child soldier, but, like, you know, I think it'd be pretty cool to have, like, a squad of kids around to, like, you know, teach karate or whatever.
Okay, so, like, it would be fun to be, like, a martial arts instructor is what you're saying. Because that's pretty different.
Not if they go to war.
The karate war, Glenn?
Yeah, the karate war.
The fucking karate war of 2022?
Like, the world's different now, Ruby.
I guess I haven't been outside in a while. Who knows? Who knows what's changed? There's also, like, a few details from, like, things we learn later about the Village in the Mist that I think kind of color the stuff with Zabuza in an interesting way. For one thing, the Mizukage that Zabuza tried to kill was Yagura Karatachi. Gwen, do you know anything about Yagura Karatachi?
I know his name.
Okay. So he was, like, the host of the... Is it Two Tails of the Turtle or is it Three Tails of the Turtle?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, well, one of those numbers is a turtle and one of those numbers is a cat. He's the host of the Turtle. He's also the Mizukage for a while. He was also, like, one of, like, the most hated figures in, like, Village Hidden in the Mist history. Like, when we go over to, like, in Boruto, there's an arc where they go to the Village Hidden in the Mist, and it's, like, everybody fucking hates that guy. They hate everybody who's related to that guy. Like, he is just kind of, like, he's just kind of like a figure that they are all happiest in the past and would not you know.
Yeah, I remember in Boruto they treated him as like the figurehead of the whole children murdering each other situation.
Yeah. And like it's like I don't know if that's necessarily true. I don't know if the timeline lines up for him to have been Mizukage while Zabuza was a kid, but like it definitely seems like once he died, there were some reforms, and they sort of like definitely painted him as a figurehead of like all of that shit they were happy to leave in the past. Which means that if Zabuza had like stuck it out for a couple more years, like, I mean, maybe they wouldn't have been like, "Hey, come back," but they probably would have been like, "Hey, you know, we don't need to kill that guy anymore. You know, maybe he can work for us again on the down low. Maybe he can like."
Yeah, it's like how Sasuke is in Boruto.
Yeah, like I bet there are people who like if you asked, "Hey, how did you feel when Zabuza tried to kill the Mizukage?" I bet there is a non-zero amount of people who are like, "It was pretty fucking awesome." Like even at this time, I bet if you went over there, you would find like just people in the village who are like, "Yeah, I kind of wish he killed that guy."
Yeah, I was like really sad when he didn't kill them.
And like I don't know if that is if that was like something that was done on purpose to like try and further soften Zabuza's image like later, or if it's just something that like lines up that way. But I do think it's interesting that like when Kakashi is talking about like Kakashi has a speech in this episode about how like Zabuza isn't behaving how a shinobi should behave, and how he's like betraying his country, and I just think it really underscores the extent to which Kakashi doesn't really have like a deep understanding of what's happening, and is kind of posturing to like affirm the sense that he's doing the right thing here.
He's doing a good job.
Yeah, are you convinced? Are you convinced by?
Well, he's so cool.
He is pretty cool. I can't deny that. I think his speech about how you know, like I don't really buy his speech about how Zabuza's gone too far, and how he's like he's destroying the only true hope of the people here in this land, because I mean we've expressed our skepticism about Tazuna on this podcast, but like, you know, Kakashi is pretty cool. There's also like another like broader Naruto lore detail that I'm turning over in my head, which is that we do eventually meet Mizukage in like a living Mizukage in Naruto.
Yeah.
And the Mizukage we eventually meet is Mei Terumi, who is like one of the things that's notable about her is that she has not one but two Kekkei Genkai, and I'm wondering if this is meant to signify to us who are like eagle-eyed and really paying attention to the lore that like, are we meant to understand that over there they've eventually decided that Kekkei Genkai are good, or that there's just like a really like big tension between like the ninja village and like the broader people who
I have to imagine it's different in ninja villages.
Yeah, right.
Because they're ninja. Kekkei Genkai are cool.
Yeah. But like also the ninja villages on like some level like they do have to like collaborate with like the broader government, which I assume is like concerned about the more general population of like the land of water, right? Like so I just have to it just does make me wonder, like I think it would be really interesting if there was like if we got like a story about like how kind of pissed off like the land of water are about like the ninjas. I think that could be interesting. We'll probably never get that, and it's fine. But like I'm always looking for like these weird tensions out in the world of Naruto that like won't be paid off on, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Well, how I interpret the whole Kekkei Genkai situation is that the scary thing about them is that like it could be someone without training,
mm-hmm.
right? And so like being a shinobi, like to the average Joe, to the average farmer, like someone with a Kekkei Genkai and someone who is a shinobi, like any shinobi, wanting to kill you are like equally as deadly.
Yeah, I can see that.
So being a shinobi with a Kekkei Genkai doesn't fucking matter. In fact, it's preferable if everyone who has a Kekkei Genkai just went off and became shinobi, because shinobi have fucking rules.
Yeah, they're not gonna just explode their house with you in it.
Yeah, right. So I have to imagine it's different in ninja villages. I mean, you know, and if you thinking through it logically, like giving the fucking torches and pitchfork folk like the benefit of the doubt, you know, being able to like think about this, like, yeah, I don't know. It makes sense not to give too much of a shit if a ninja has a Kekkei Genkai, because also if a ninja has a Kekkei Genkai, how would the layman fucking know?
Yeah. All right.
Right? Like, are you gonna know enough about fucking what shinobi can do to know whether or not that is like a normal jutsu or a Kekkei Genkai? Probably not.
Probably not. There's like one last beat I want to talk about in this episode.
Okay.
which is there's like a cutaway to like kind of like a sort of a flashback to like Zabuza and Haku wandering around together, where like we get like bits of Haku like caring for the rabbit that like Naruto scares earlier in the arc.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like I don't know. I think that's like a really like I think it's like a sweet little callback to have in there to like extrapolate this like pretty like small like image from earlier in the arc into like here's this like nice little beat for like here is a moment where like Haku got to be almost kind of normal.
Yeah, he got to have a pet bunny. Man, we really got to save this kid, huh?
Save this kid. God damn.
It's gonna be so hard. How far away is this bridge? Where's the where is?
I don't know. It's not finished yet. We have to like get a boat.
Okay, well, you want to move on to the next episode?
Sure.
Episode 18. The weapons known as Shinobi. Inari tries to rally the villagers to go help fight. The old man he talks through the door turns them away. Inari has no luck with the rest of the village either. But the old man's wife helps him decide not to let the kid go and get himself killed. Haku finally goads Naruto into attacking as Kakashi steps in to kill Zabuza. Now that the fog's lifted, Haku sees Zabuza about to get lightning bladed, and last second, catches Naruto's blade and dashes over to get between Kakashi and Zabuza, taking a lethal hit, but dispelling Kakashi's dogs in the process.
Okay. So how do you feel about this scene where like Inari's going around trying to get all the villagers to go fight?
It's okay, I guess.
Yeah, because for me, I guess this was kind of where I started to like feel a little bit of a disconnect from like I was always at a level where I didn't really believe in what this represented, but this is sort of where I start to feel like there's two threads happening in these last few episodes, and one of them is the stuff with like Zabuza and Haku, and the other is the Land of Wave stuff. That's like, and I think one of those works much better for me, and I feel like a lot of the conclusive stuff for the Land of Wave stuff kind of falls a little flat here, and I was trying to figure out why that was exactly, and it's weird because like. In practice, like I can totally get behind the idea of like, okay, we're like rallying all these people up to like together to fight, and to like, you know, they're all spurred to, you know, face this guy who's been who's been grinding them down to the dust. But like, I mean, I guess part of it is because of like, again, I don't really believe that much in what Tazuna represents. Part of it is just I don't know that this show has done a particularly good job of like establishing the idea that these people actually have that much they can do that will matter. Because when Naruto is trying to like reach out to Inari, a lot of it is about like, oh, you know, it's not, a lot of it's about the idea that like heroes exist, and that like, you know, there are people out there who will like fight for you and who are like able to make a change. But like it doesn't really feel like the arc is like interested in this scene or like in anything that comes from it, the idea that these people are actually like able to exist on that level. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I definitely see I definitely see where you're coming from. Like the whole like Naruto's interaction is like, don't worry, you can believe in the people that are here to help you. And then the resolution and the takeaway from that is, all right, everyone, collective action. Let's go.
Yeah, like again, I am not like against collective action. I am not like
no. It just
I think if a village of people got together and decided to kill Jeff Bezos, that would be pretty good.
Yeah, I do. But I do too. If it like meant anything or worked. Here, it's just out of place.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like there's been a lot to like build up to it, other than the pretty bad scene where like Tazuna is talking about how everybody in the village is like a coward now because they don't have jobs. Yeah,
it just hasn't earned it. It's just like, oh, this is the thing that happens in villages after there's a bad guy running it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's weak. It's nothing. You know, it's unsatisfying. It's not a conclusion to what is like actually happened, or like the message that's like actually being sent. It's just the like canned response to the like general situation. And so it falls flat. It just falls flat. I think we might have been a little bit too late on that Haku front.
Oh yeah. Oh jeez. Oh
god.
Oh god. Yeah, it doesn't go great for Haku, huh? It's
It was so cool how you made like the ice mirror to like teleport over and get there like real quick mid swing. Bad what happened because of it, I think.
Yeah. I just like it is like pretty like it's like a bummer to me. It's like when what once Haku like, oh shit, there's something else I can do. Like it very quickly becomes clear that like Naruto didn't have a chance of even hurting Haku if Haku wasn't just gonna stand there and like let him as part of like some self-sacrificial plan to create the new like special hero boy who could like kill other kids to bring about change.
Yeah.
That's maybe like a weird way for framing like what like Haku's feeling in that moment. I don't know. I don't mean to like come across them as like, oh, I think Haku has some like contrived plan here. I just think, you know,
I think it is much simpler than that even, right? Like I think we can take Haku at his word here and just be like, and just know that like Haku is feeling defeated. Like Haku knows that he is a tool that is no longer useful.
Yeah, because he just can't see himself actually like. He can't see himself killing Naruto. He knows he can't kill Sasuke. Like he just didn't do it.
What do you mean Sasuke's dead?
Oh, Sasuke dead? Oh, sorry. This is awkward.
Yeah, he did. Haku did the fucking death like sleep thing that he did to Zabuza in the beginning. That's, you know, spoilers later this episode.
Yeah, I know that you're all really shocked that Sasuke isn't dead.
But like, if Haku didn't die here, I bet he'd get over it.
Yeah,
you know, like that's
like I like, you know, if both Zabuza and Haku like walk away from this, maybe they have a talk and it's like, hey, it's okay, you'll get him next time. Or like, hey, maybe we think of a different way to go about this, where you don't have to kill other kids. Or I don't know. I mean, like I don't know that there's a way to achieve what Zabuza wants to do that doesn't like run up against maybe needing to kill some kids. But
yeah, well, I mean, at the very least, we could adopt him and maybe he finds some things out about himself and maybe he's not a himself, maybe he's a herself. You know, like maybe, you know. Maybe, who knows? Yeah, right? Like, I can't make that decision for Haku, but like, you know, like, I think maybe understanding there's a whole world out there, you know, like.
Yeah, you know. It's a fucking bummer. Like it's just sad. It is just like it very effectively pulls you into like, man, it would be nice if this kid didn't like feel like he had to die here. But unfortunately, this world is like a machine that like crushes kids into feeling like they have to die. So
I wanted to talk karate.
I don't know how much you like. No shade to you. I don't know how much you have to teach Haku about martial arts.
I could.
God, I didn't mean to make you too sad to keep recording the podcast.
Okay, well, I could teach Haku other things.
Yeah, you can teach Haku other things. There's all sorts of things about the Haku doesn't know how to do.
Like, you know, healthy coping mechanisms.
Mm-hmm.
How to be like cognizant of your feelings, and like how to properly act on them. Because we all know how good I am at that.
You're really good at that, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're getting at here.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I'm really happy for you.
Yeah. I wish this kid didn't fucking die. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Going into this, I was like, yeah, I like Haku. I had no fucking idea.
You didn't know how bad I was going to get your ass, huh?
Think we could move on?
Yeah.
Inari suits up with his little crossbow and pot helmet. His mom tries to keep him from leaving to go alone, but when he steps through the door, he finds that the whole village is waiting for him outside to go kick some ass. Everyone's shocked to see Haku dead standing with Kakashi's hand in his chest cavity, and the now dog-free Zabuza moves in for a slash. Kakashi tries to pull away from Haku, but the dead kid's got a mortis grip on his wrist, so he jumps back, taking the corpse with him. Kakashi lays Haku down and closes his eyes. As Sakura goes to check on Sasuke, he's still dead. Kakashi and Zabuza start slugging it out, and Kakashi disables one of Zabuza's arms, and Zabuza just can't keep up. Gato shows up with a whole little army of goons as Kakashi takes out Zabuza's other arm. I have something to say.
Okay.
About this section, specifically the part where Zabuza had, like, one arm disabled.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been watching my brother play Dark Souls a lot lately, and I just want to say, fucking Artorias wishes he was this cool. Something about Zabuza's posture with the one arm disabled and, like, Artorias' whole situation are just really, really, really reminiscent of each other, like, as far as, like, posture and, like, the way that they hold themselves. I wonder if it is, like, actual inspiration on, you know, like, Artorias' part, because Dark Souls came after, or if it is some shared heritage, maybe from Berserk. It has been a long time since I've read Berserk. I don't know if that kind of, like, stance is ever very prevalent, but not at least, like, directly in mind.
I am entirely ignorant of Berserk, so I can't really, like, illuminate this, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. You know, just the, like, great sword with arm hanging limp, right, is, like, one thing, but also, like, the like, very specific way that, like, they hold the sword, and, like, the way that they're, like, holding themselves really low with, like, really, like, widespread legs. It's very similar, and I would be surprised if Zabuza in this state wasn't, like, a touchstone, or if they don't have some, like, common heritage. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. See, I also don't know about Dark Souls, so, like, I'm just like, yeah, Zabuza. All right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and the thing about it is that Artorias is the coolest guy in Dark Souls.
Okay.
Right? And Zabuza is the coolest guy.
That could be true.
Zabuza is the coolest guy in Naruto. So, like, it makes sense. Everyone agrees that Artorias is the coolest guy in Dark Souls.
Okay, this is like, this won't be a controversial statement in any place at all. This is like a solved issue.
Yeah, because, like, no offense to Dark Souls, Artorias is the only cool guy.
That might be a more controversial statement. Like, I don't really know about Dark Souls, but, like,
there's just not a lot of cool guys. There's, like, big monsters and, like, demons and stuff, yeah. But, like,
do you think big monsters and demons are excluded from being cool guys, or just none of them are cool guys?
I wouldn't say they're excluded, but I mean, there's a difference between being a cool big monster and being a cool guy. I think there could be, like, a monstrous demon dude that's, like, a cool guy, but I don't think...
Just not in Dark Souls, there's none of them.
Yeah. The only other contender is the, I forget his name. He's the giant archer that's pals with Artorias. I'm
just trying to, like, nod, like, placidly into the microphone. It's not coming through, but, like, I need to remind you, I don't know shit about Dark Souls. I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, let me lay it out for you, because, so Artorias, cool guy, big sword.
Of the Abyss, or whatever.
The Abyss Walker. He's the dude that walked down into the Abyss to try and stop it, and it fucked him up super bad, and he, like, came out crawling by, like, the fucking skin of his teeth, super fucked up, and then you kill him. But he's a cool guy. But the only reason you beat him was because he was super weakened after, like, crawling back from this super deadly encounter. And then this giant dude, who, I forget his name, but if you know anything about Dark Souls, you know about those little carvings you throw on the ground that go, hello. And he's the dude that carves those, and he can't see, and there's a dragon flying around. And, like, he takes his big bow, and he shoots the dragon even though he's blind. So you can go and fight it. And it's super cool. He's the only other... That sounds pretty cool, Gwen. Yeah, it is cool. He's the only other cool guy. However, everyone agrees that Artorias is the cool guy. Moving on.
We're done talking about Dark Souls. Which means this is now once again a two-person podcast.
I think his name might be, like, Go. Or, like, Golf.
Gwen.
Okay,
Gwen, we gotta move on.
Moving on. I just didn't want people to tweet at me.
Okay.
Like, I know
that's understandable.
I know his name now. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Where the fuck even were we? So Zabuza, he's swinging around his sword.
Mm-hmm.
He's still trying to fight. He's just not in it.
Yeah.
Hisaru's just not in it anymore, right? Like he's still trying to be like, haha, you fucked up. You didn't kill me. You killed the kid. You idiot. I don't feel any way about this. He's just off his game.
Yeah.
Like the dude is just taking hits that he does not need to be taking on a regular basis at this point.
His heart's not in it, and also his right arm's not in it, and that really fucks him up.
Yeah, like maybe one of those he could handle, but both is rough combo.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the thing about great swords. It's kind of a two-hand operation. I wish... It's so sad that Kakashi is really good at fighting Zabuza.
What's the outcome you're angling for here?
It was like more of a stalemate where they're both like not as damaged by the time Gato arrives and is like, ha 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 ha, I've betrayed you.
And they just go fuck him up?
Yeah.
And they're bros now?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Haku's alive?
Yeah. Well, I mean, ideally yes, but also like I've kind of started this fantasy after the point.
Okay. I feel like if we start this fantasy after that point, they're probably not bros. It might take a while to get to bros. But...
It might take a minute to get to bros, yeah. Hey, I mean, like, maybe they can still save him. Fucking hole in his chest.
It's like, shit, sorry, I'm gonna put his heart back in there.
Hey, anyone see Haku's ribs?
We need those. Anybody have some spare ribs for Haku? I know Gato just brought a bunch of dudes. And you got some ribs?
I mean, it is well established that medicine is just fucking stupid in Naruto, so like...
You can just do anything.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you could transplant an eyeball, you could transplant bones.
There is like a I want to touch on here, where, like, when Sakura's, like, running over to Sasuke with Kazuna, like there's a bit where Sakura is just, like, breaking down crying, and she's just like, sorry, I'm not supposed to be crying, I'm not supposed to be emotional about this. I'm, like, this is like, I'm, like, objectively being a bad ninja right now. And Taz is just like, oh god, am I responsible for this in some way? Did I like, is this good to be for me to have done? Doesn't really take this line of reflection much further, but I think it's like a very striking moment for people like, oh shit, this is like a bad situation, isn't it?
Yeah. Also, I think that like, Sakura's situation here is like actually a really good sort of exposition for Zabuza's situation right now.
Yeah. Where Zabuza is like clearly torn up about it if you've been paying attention at all, but he's like, haha, I'm gonna kill you now because I'm cool and strong, and I'm a awesome warrior who's not fazed by my battle son's death.
Yeah.
It doesn't really like connect together in a pretty clear way I wasn't really considering. The other thing I want to talk about is, so Gato shows up with an army of goons, right?
Yeah.
The thing I think is kind of interesting is that, like, in the anime, his army of goons is consistently made way more normal looking.
Interesting.
Like, I'm gonna post a few, like, images of various, like, shots of Gato's goon army to you, and, like, we can put those in the show notes.
Mm-hmm.
But, like...
Probably,
like
probably we will actually just post them in, like, a Twitter reply.
That might be what we do also, yeah. But, like, as you can see here, there's just, like, a collection of freaks standing behind Gato.
Oh my god, that dude's got a scythe.
There's a guy who is double-wielding double-bladed swords. Like, swords that have, like, a blade going off in both directions.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it really just seems like they went, like, fucking wild with drawing a bunch of weirdos in the manga. In a way that it's just, like, a lot more normal guys in the anime. There's, like, another shot of a guy who has, like, 4 swords strapped to his back.
You know, for the, Holy shit.
Yeah. I was fucking right. He's got 4 swords strapped to his back.
That's somebody who was disarmed once. And won't be again.
It's never fucking happening again. I'm always gonna have a sword going forward. We're gonna see that guy again later after time skip. He's gonna have like 12 swords on him. He's like, listen, it's different than before. This time, I'll never run out of swords. And like in the anime, like there's like some kind of weird guys in Gato's goon army, but there's also a bunch of like deeply normal looking men.
Yeah, well, I mean, I imagine anytime you conscript a goon army, there's going to be a good deal of deeply normal-looking men. It's just logistics. The freaks cost way more.
The freaks are... Yeah, I mean, we know for a fact, I mean, I guess the game will limit to the next episode. But if Gato's not really paying for the freaks. He's he doesn't want to pay for the freaks. The freaks are too expensive for him. He can afford them, but he's just he's cutting costs wherever he can.
Oh yeah. With that, do you just want to go straight into it?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Episode 19: The Demon in the Snow. Turns out Zabuza's too expensive for Gato, so he's fired. Kakashi and Zabuza call a truce as Gato walks up to challenge them and kicks Haku. Naruto rushes him for the disrespect, but Kakashi stops him. Naruto starts berating Zabuza for how he treated Haku. Zabuza gives the whole "Shinobi are only tools" speech, but Naruto won't have it, and goes off about how to Haku, Zabuza was the most important person in the world. This brings Zabuza to tears. He tears off his face bandages with his teeth and asks Naruto for a knife.
So this is another episode where I want to talk about the staff on it a little bit, but it's actually way easier, or it's going to be way faster than last time because it's mostly the same. Once again, storyboarded and directed by Toshiyuki Tsuru, animation direction by Hirofumi Suzuki and Masaru Hyoto, and even the key animation list is like mostly the same. There are a few additional names I want to shout out though. We have like Tetsuya Takeuchi, who is like an extremely prolific and talented animator that I'm not like super qualified to go all the way in terms of like what he's done, but like the point of reference that like is most clear in my head is he was like the main animator on a like sort of he was the main animator on a show called Hinamatsuri, which is just like a very like kind of bombastic over the top gag anime with just like a bunch of like bursts of like very funny looking action animation that he was like central to a lot of. And the other name is Tokuyuki Matsutake, who I'm also like not super familiar with, but you can definitely, but like it has like worked on a lot of stuff. It's on a lot of great looking animation. Has sort of a history with Hirofumi Suzuki. They've like definitely worked together a lot and like like show up to work with each other. They work together on classic unreasonably good looking children's anime Metarot, where Matsutake provided character designs and Suzuki provided mechanical designs. I
have a question for you about Zabuza.
What's that?
How old do you think Zabuza is?
How old do you think Zabuza is? Like maybe a little older than Kakashi? I don't know. Like I bet there's a canon answer to this.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up. Because there is like a perceived age discrepancy between the sub and the dub.
Really?
Yeah. Zabuza reads way younger in the dub.
Oh, well, like what makes you say that?
I don't know. I just think the Japanese voice sounds like a lot older. It says here that he's 26, so like the same age as Kakashi.
Okay.
And I read him as like dub, I would say like 30.
Okay.
So that's not far off. He's had a rough life.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Japanese voice actor, I would put him like older. Like I would say like 45 to 50. But that was just my like perception of it, you know, like he definitely has like an older sounding voice.
Mm-hmm. And he's voiced by Ishizuka, right? Who definitely plays a lot of like older guys.
Yeah.
So I imagine when you get that guy in like the recording booth, it just kind of like the guy comes out sounding a little older.
Yeah, and like he's an older dude himself, right? So like it only makes sense. He's Steve Bloom in English, so he sounds like Steve Bloom.
Is that good or bad?
I don't know. All right,
it's neutral.
Yeah, I mean it's neutral. Just Steve Bloom sounds like Steve Bloom. Like
I do think it's interesting that we get Gato showing up being like, yeah, so Zabuza's rates are like too high for me. So I'm gonna just sort of pay these guys who have to pay less. Because this is like further extending our further extending the Tazuna is nice Gato claims, because Tazuna opens up this arc by moving to underpay a bunch of ninjas he's hiring.
Yeah, woohoo!
The guys are so alike.
Also, Gato, you dumb motherfucker. Zabuza was about to die here. You wouldn't have to pay him.
Yeah, you didn't have to piss him off. It's okay. Like I guess he didn't know, but I don't know. Maybe I would have left. Maybe I would have just left.
Yeah, I mean, like maybe you could at least like watch the situation for a minute before you stroll up and be like, "You're fired."
You're fired, and also like start kicking this kid that you liked.
Just start kicking your loved one.
Yeah. Fuck this kid.
Fuck this kid.
You don't have arms. What are you gonna do? Nobody's that good at wielding a knife with their mouth.
Nobody's good at wielding knives in their teeth. Everybody knows this.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier, like I don't like this episode as much as the first episode we talked about this week. I think that like it looks very good still. I think there's a lot of the like animation, even in these like kind of like down tempo bits where like Naruto's talking to Zabuza, like like yelling at him for like appearing callous, and like Gato's like walking up and kicking Haku. Like there's like just a really impressive sense of volume to a lot of like the movement there.
Oh yeah.
I think this is like a really like very like impressive looking episode of television a lot of the time. It's just I also think that it has a lot to cover in like in wrapping up the arc, and the stuff it's covering is like stuff I less consistently like, and it just has and, like it just has less room to like sort of like bring out and expand on stuff, just because like, you know, needs to do the whole conclusion of this. I don't want to like go here and say like, oh, this isn't like I don't want to like downplay the extent to which this episode is like a really impressive artistic achievement.
Yeah, because it is, especially in this next segment. Because holy shit, we're not there yet, but holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I really like the moment of like Naruto's just kind of been hit with like just how fucked up everything around him is, and he doesn't really know where to direct this, so he just starts yelling at Zabuza. And it's like, hey, don't you see this is fucked? Did you care about this at all? And I don't know. I think it's like kind of real to have him just be like he's kind of just lashing out in this moment, but I really believe it.
Yeah, totally. I'm so sad that Haku died.
I've noticed this, actually. It seems like you're pretty bummed about Haku dying. Are you going to be okay?
Yeah, like, I'll be fine. Like, it's just my...
Maybe we should have done something.
We should have done something. Just sitting here watching him. But Haku just moves too damn fast.
Haku is really fast.
We weren't able to dive in and, I do wonder.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, like, more than a little bit of a tangent.
Uh-huh.
I wonder what it would look like if Zabuza died there and Haku was still alive.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because, like, Haku wouldn't be okay.
Haku would not be okay. Yeah.
But,
But maybe. In time.
Yeah, right? Like, he'd get over it. Sure. Like, Kakashi wouldn't be alive anymore. That's okay. We could just...
So is your pitch, like, is it like Haku and like a cell of rogue children running around? Is that your like Naruto's like, ah shit, do I even want to go back? And Haku's like, fuck no, don't do that. Let's just run off into the woods and be sad.
Yeah, and like this is maybe something you have like experience with. It's something that I certainly have experience with. It's any circle of friends. You know how like one of them comes out as like gay or trans or whatever, and then the rest do very shortly after.
Okay, you're I see what you're proposing here.
I think Haku is the seed there. I think Haku is the one that's like, wait, hold on. And then Sasuke and Naruto are like, wait, hold on. And then Sakura could be the straight friend.
Sakura is the straight friend. I'm sorry sorry to all the Sakura heads out there. She's kind of the straight friend.
Yeah, I mean, like, my deepest apologies, but
But yeah, do you have much more you want to touch on before we move on?
I think I'm good. Do you want to move on? Or did you have more to talk about?
I don't think I did. I don't know.
Alright. Well, let's just move on, and then if you had anything to say, you can just regret it forever.
Okay.
Zabuza catches Naruto's kunai in his teeth and rushes Gato. Gato retreats behind his gang of goons, but Zabuza cuts through them with little concern for his own safety, eventually making it through to Gato, stabbing him in the chest. A bunch of goons follow up and get Zabuza, but he's committed to taking Gato down with him, and knifes him up some more, sending him into the water before collapsing himself. Oh, and Sasuke's alive. Zabuza is so fucking cool!
Zabuza is so fucking cool. The big scene of Zabuza, like, charging in, rushing past all the guys, fucking him up with the knife in his mouth, like, basically all of the action there, and, like, the bits of, like, Zabuza, like, intimidating Gato, and, like, scaring the shit out of him before he kills him, that is, pretty much all Tetsuya Takeuchi, just when the anime started at the top of the episode.
Yeah.
And it looks fucking incredible.
I think... I'm sorry, what was the dude's name again?
Tetsuya Takeuchi?
Yeah, okay. This is the first time where we get that big, like, sort of zoomed out, very loose action, like, flowing stuff that I think is very emblematic of how a lot of, like, really good shit Naruto looks.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the first time that, like, we get a glimpse of that, unless I'm mistaken.
I think that's right. It's definitely, like even if there is something before this, which I don't think this is definitely, like, way more striking than anything before it, right? Like, it is just...
Yeah.
It's a guy rushing in there, and he's, like, fighting away this, like, kind of impractical, but, like, it looks sick as shit, and it's, like, really loose and striking, and it's, like... No, it's like a very impactful sequence. It is
I want my eyeballs to melt into it.
Yeah. Something actually I kind of want to talk about, which is like, again, in regards to Toshiyuki Tsuru and like his sort of like early adaptation of like digital effects and stuff. There's like a bunch of CG backgrounds in this scene, and I think they're like masked pretty well. A lot of the part of it is like it helps that they've got like the mist thing going on, so like a lot of it isn't calling too much attention to itself, and I think it's used really well. Like it definitely seems like the sequence is planned around them very well, where the like Tatsuya Takeuchi's animation can like focus on the characters and like getting the motion right on them, and then like the CG backgrounds can sort of be used to like make it all like click together a little bit better and like flow well, and successfully like accentuate the motion. I think a lot of that stuff like works really well in this sequence, even if it's not like it's not like, oh, this is like amazing looking CG, but I think it's used really well, and I think it it's like very unobtrusive in this sequence.
Yeah, I mean, like, I didn't even notice it until I saw your bullet point here and then went back and looked for it.
Yeah, the thing that, like, the one that really tipped me off is, like, when like, Gato goes, like, flying off the bridge, and you see the bridge rotate a little bit, it's very clear in that shot, but then, like, if you, like, go back, like, if you, like, glance past the, like, really frenetic and exciting bits of Zabuza just, like, killing a bunch of dudes, you can see, like, oh, hey, there's that tower on the edge of the bridge you see rotating a little bit, and there's, like... I think it's like really impressively integrated, and like very much ahead of the time for where the show is being made, like when the show is being made.
Yeah, Zabuza's so fucking cool here. Like
he's so cool. I love that. Like he gets that one last moment of just being to be like real dramatic, and like he's got his whole speech about it, just like. I love that he's like really leaning into it when he's like up close and threatening Gato. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna fucking see you in hell. I'm gonna keep making you fucking miserable, asshole."
Yeah,
it's like Haku Haku might be going someplace nice, but I don't intend to go to the same place. I'm gonna see you there, asshole. It's great. It's great. I'm glad he gets to go as he lived.
Me too.
Okay, all right. Actually, there's nothing I want to touch on in regards to the CG in this episode, which is So I was glancing over the credits, and I could have missed something, but like as far as I could tell, there wasn't a like position, like there wasn't like a credit, like a position listed in the credits for like specifically the who was responsible for the CG effects. But there is another Toshiyuki Tsuru episode later, where I think he uses where he really notably uses CG to like accentuate the action, where the credited CG environment artists are Toshiyuki Tsuru, Hirofumi Suzuki, and Shinji Yanaginuma, who is also credited like working in like digital photography on this episode. So like I kind of wonder if it isn't the same situation here, where
the people are just already in the credits otherwise, but just
we're like Toshiyuki Tsuru and Hirofumi Suzuki are like the director of the episode and the animation director of the episode are like sort of like taking on some of that work that like isn't really formalized as part of the production process. And
yeah, I mean, like probably
because there's left like similarities between this and like that later episode I'm thinking of, that like I have to wonder if it isn't the same thing going on here.
Yeah, I mean, like someone had to have done it, right? And they wouldn't just not credit them. Knock on wood.
I mean, like there's all sorts of circumstances where people go like uncredited on episodes for like a whole variety of reasons. But like at this point, like there's just not like a traditional like I imagine in a lot of productions there's not like always a like CG person in the credits, so like it's not something as like naturally like
right, like especially if it's people who are doing other stuff for the show like otherwise, who are already credited, if they just didn't think to like distinguish specifically the 3D stuff as like its own category of things that needs to be credited. That makes total sense to me. Sasuke's good now.
Sasuke's healthy. So there's like there's something I found kind of interesting. Which is like this is like a bit from the manga that winds up being kind of like brushed over in like the amount of stuff this episode needs to cover. But like there is a bit where like Sasuke. Like after Sasuke wakes up, he says a few things where it like seems kind of like he was like worried that Naruto would have killed Haku when he hears that Haku is dead, which I think is like an interesting beat for the character.
I think that's kind of implicit in the anime too. It's just not necessarily like laid out. super directly, right? I think there's one line where he's just like, "Did Naruto?" and then it cuts away or whatever.
Another thing I want to mention is I really like the bit in this episode where like after Zabuza kills Gato and he like turns around and like starts walking back towards Haku, and we get that first person shot of like his like vision like wavering and blurring as he's like slowly like struggling forward, and all of Gato's goons are just kind of like looking on and it's like, ah shit, I don't want to touch this. I think that thing is really striking, and it's like one of those things where it's one of those rare things where like I really like how the anime does it, and I also kind of want to shout out how that page looks in the manga, because it's like a different take on the same scene that I think is really is really striking. But like in the manga, like it's this one page of like where like the gutters around the panels are sort of like extended outwards to the edges of the page. Like it's not like it has the panels hugging the edge, like one edge of the page, like it often does in the comic. And so there's just like this sense of like openness and emptiness around the page, and that like gradually like expands out as the individual panels get smaller and then open up into like the one big panel of like Zabuza's silhouette like collapsing in front of his memory of Haku. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Man, this looks like a pretty good comic.
It's a pretty good looking comic sometimes. Like, we're talking about the anime. We're focusing primarily on the anime. But like, if you gotta read the comic, that's a pretty good way to do it too.
Yeah. And, I volunteered to watch the dub because I am the one of the two of us that is most familiar with the dub, because that was the version that I watched on Cartoon Network. Mm-hmm. But, I definitely would like to read the comic also sometime.
Well, maybe you should do that.
Probably I will. I mean, like, maybe not keep up with it necessarily for the podcast, but like, maybe once we're a ways in, I could go back and just read it like leisurely.
Are we good to move on?
I think we're good to move on. The goons still want trouble, but Inari and his angry mob chase them off. Zabuza still wants to see Haku again before he goes, so Kakashi carries him over to die by his side as it begins to snow out of season. Team 7 buries Zabuza and Haku up on a ridge overlooking the river. Naruto, not content with being used as a tool and being cast away, declares that he has a new ninja way, one where he'll live true to himself and not have any regrets. Back at the bridge, the village all get together to send Team 7 off, and when they leave, Tazen decides to name the bridge after Naruto. Alright.
Yeah, so I'm like... Again, I talked, we were talking about the previous episode, how I wasn't super bought into the stuff with the village and that, and again, in here I feel like I'm kind of checked out once we have that, like, alright, now all of Gato's goons decide they just need to, like, loot the village, and then the village, the guys show up, and I don't know, it's perfunctory, it's there, and then, like, it's kind of, and then we're past it. It doesn't really stick out a ton in my mind. It doesn't, I'm not like very, very much compelled by it.
No, yeah, it's kind of just nothing. Like obviously the goons had to be there so Zabuza could cut through them and be really cool. But I almost wish they just like scattered after the fact. Mm-hmm. Right? And like, even while Gato was still alive. Uh-huh. Right? If Zabuza just broke through and like got straight to Gato and everyone and all of them were just like, we're not getting paid anyway, so bye.
Yeah, and like, I mean, like, because again, even here, like, it's not even like, oh, the village like fights off these guys. It's like the village gives Naruto and Kakashi enough like courage to bluff enough to scare off all of the goons.
Yeah, right. Like I said before, like it's just weak. It is just the canned response of what you do when like a village is being threatened by a bunch of guys, right? Like, like that's barely the story they're telling, and they didn't earn it
because we don't know who like any of these people are, and like the only picture we have of the situation is just like the super condescending picture we get like through Tazuna.
Yeah.
So seeing them come together doesn't really like feel like it means much.
Yeah, especially the way that this is paced. Like it feels like happening after the whole like Zabuza and Haku situation. It feels like the resolution that we're supposed to care more about.
Yeah, like I can't imagine there's anybody who's like more bought into that. I can't imagine the people like I don't believe the people like making it care more about this stuff than the Zabuza and Haku stuff.
No, it's just messy. Mm-hmm.
Like, it continues to be like a little bit of a downer. Like, again, I really do like the stuff with Zabuza and Haku on the whole. I think it's very sweet when, like, Zabuza's, like, walking back over and he's like, I said all that shit, but, like, I'd really like it if I could wind up in the same place as Haku after I die. I think that's, like, a sweet moment. But, like, once it starts snowing and Naruto's like, oh, Haku grew up where it snowed a lot, and then Kakashi's like, he was a boy as pure as the snow. It's just kind of clunky. Like, those are just kind of some clunkers. I don't really,
Yeah, right, like, I wish they just left that shit unsaid.
Yeah, it's like, it's okay. We can just let the moment hang.
Like, we know that Haku grew up in the snow place, right? Like, we can make that connection in our minds and feel sad about it.
And we know that, like, Haku, like, was possessed of, like, a sort of, like, purity of ideal and, like, purpose that, like, both, like, drove him forward and was, like, both kind of admirable and also destroyed him. Like, it's okay. We don't really need to have a character, like, saying that without even saying it and just kind of having this, like, weirdly trite capstone line on it.
Yeah, we don't have to have the character who is, like, wrong about it. to be the one to, like, voice that at the very end. But, it's also, like, kind of a show for children.
It is kind of a show for children.
So, I can't dock too many points for having to be, like, a little bit straightforward about the, like, things they're trying to get across.
But, like, I do like the scene later when they're, like, by Zabuza and Haku's graves that they've made. Like, yeah. I think that really works. I really like Kakashi being like, yeah, I mean, we're not supposed to, like, have emotional attachments, and we're not supposed to, like, we're supposed to be just kind of cold and unfeeling and, be perfect weapons, but, like, also we're people and that's impossible, so don't really worry about it. None of us really get this. Like, I like that Kakashi's big, like, adventure statement is like, yeah, I don't know. It's hard. It's confusing. Just hang in there, I guess. It's like, I don't know. It feels honest. It feels like...
Yeah, I mean, it feels like someone who's 26 going...
Yeah, right?
Talking to a bunch of teenagers about some, like, hard stuff that they're going through. It's just like, yeah, man, I don't...
Yeah, man, me too. I'm sorry. It's just gotta be like this.
Like, I think that's fine for Kakashi, because that is who he is right now.
Yeah, no, like, I am definitely very invested in the idea of Kakashi as, like, a guy who is very cool, but also doesn't really know shit, and he's just, like, he is trying to, like, make sure the things that are within his, like, purview to make okay are okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's like, look, I didn't send him to be a therapist to a bunch of children. I do karate.
Yeah.
I throw knives and make my hand into a lightning knife.
He's pretty good at that.
Yeah, and I can conjure dogs.
You want to know about any of that stuff? I mean, like, I'll teach one of you one of those things.
Yeah, I'll teach one of you one of those things. I'll introduce the other one to a friend who maybe has more experience in, like, kind of your whole situation. And the other one, I don't know, you're a girl.
You're a girl. You can like branch off into the girl subclass and all girls get.
I think it would be cute if Kakashi just summoned the dogs sometimes to hang out.
Yeah. How many of the dogs like him, do you think?
They all do at least have, like, at least a little bit,
Like, I'm sure, I bet there's, like, at least a baseline, like, grudging respect. It's like, yeah, this is what we would do. We're the ninja dogs that get summoned.
Yeah, like...
But how many of them, like, hell yeah, Kakashi. I love getting summoned by Kakashi.
Probably a good amount. Like, I don't know if you've ever known a dog, but they are very affectionate animals.
Yeah, I guess you're right. This is really a particularly fruitful line of questioning.
Like, imagine Kakashi and Team 7 are, like, hiking through, like, a cold zone, like a cold area, and they set up camp, and they're like, well, we can't have a fire. Dogs.
Oh, yes. They should... When in the first movie, when they go to, like, the snow place, dogs just be around all the time.
Yeah, that would be so good.
It's the dog movie. It's not the dog movie. Well, I don't even know if the dogs are in that at all. I guess we'll find out. It seems like Tazda is, like, over feeling bad about about everything he did. He's like, he's just bought into the, like,
Child Sludge is okay, actually, and not only are they okay, they're cool, and that's what I'm gonna name my bridge after one.
Yeah, that guy's, like, a really special guy, and he's my favorite. Something that I was thinking about when I was like watching the end of it, like watching this episode, is So we know that like Gato, it was like the biggest like trade magnate in the world or whatever, right? Like he's the biggest shipping magnate in the world. He was like responsible for a lot of that, and like a lot of that kind of winds up falling to Tazuna if some of the like various like tertiary Naruto things are to be believed. So how much of the eventual like when it comes time to like discuss like, okay, well, Kakashi's going to be Hokage and then Naruto's going to be Hokage later, like how much is it being weighed in discussion that like, hey, you know, that like guy who is like managing like a lot of like the world trade, he really likes this guy. Like if you're like on the council trying to figure out who becomes the Hokage, how much do you weigh the fact that like
Well, for the economic prospects of the village, I think we should have Kakashi and or Naruto be the Hokage, because that'll get us in good with Tazuna.
God, like that's the kind of thing about this arc is like, I mean, like I can talk about how I don't really buy on like an emotional level a lot of the stuff with Tazuna, but it's like very fascinating to consider when you think about like the world of Naruto of like, yeah, this is like kind of like a tragedy, but also it's a huge win for the village hidden the leaves because they like took out like this big like this big crime guy who was like managing a lot of like global trade and like was just causing a mess for everybody, and they replaced him with a guy who really likes them.
Yeah, great deal.
Kashi is going back home. He's getting a raise for this one.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter if he wants it or not. Like they're just like, hey man, good work out there.
Man, sucks that a kid died. Also, cha-ching.
But yeah, so you know they're walking away, and Tazuna's got a sappy thing about naming it the Great Naruto Bridge, and so I talked earlier in this episode. Earlier, I'm talking about this episode about how like in the big scene with Zabuza on the bridge, like the big action scene, like there's some CG stuff that works really well. When they're walking along the bridge here, the CG does not look very good. It looks like they finished building the bridge and forgot to texture it. Like. Like it's been 2 weeks. They finished construction, but like you know the texturing pass, like that's gonna happen after Naruto and friends leave.
Yeah, you got to go in with like a little paintbrush, just like a whole thing.
And it's fine, but like man, it's pretty ugly.
Just don't look at it.
just don't think about it.
Yeah, I mean that's
the first arc of Naruto we finished talking about.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely my favorite arc of Naruto so far.
Oh, mine too. Well, what a surprise! Yeah, like again, like it's kind of a shame. Like we kind of like wind up finishing like talking about a bunch of stuff we don't like because I really do like this arc. And I guess when it comes to thinking about Naruto, I think I don't want to do is I don't want to come across like I think the like talking like I think that it is like I don't want to come across like I am like taking points off of the show for like this being like. I don't want to come across like I am saying that the show is bad for like having the characters go on missions towards political ends that I think are unsatisfying and like not like the kind of thing that I would not support if they were happening in real life, right? Like my big beef is mostly that I think a lot of the Land of Wave stuff is kind of unsatisfying, like emotionally, but like. The part where it's like, if you think about it, it's kind of, if you think about it, it's kind of just like putting a new guy in charge that is like nicer and like more cooperative is like one of the most interesting things about the arc to me.
Yeah.
Like, I think that Naruto, as we go through it, is not going to be like a show about them like remaking the world to like fit my politics, and I don't think it should be, and I'm not like interested in like making stretches to say like the show is doing that. But I do think it is a show that like depicts enough about its world that the ways in which like characters like visions for how to improve it and like how they can change it like fall short of my own are like really interesting to talk about and to think about. And when I'm digging into that, I just really don't want to sound like I'm going and the show is bad because it doesn't end with them doing a communist revolution or whatever.
Yeah, I am.
Well, that's your prerogative.
No. I'm with you there. Like I don't. Like, would I think it would be fucking sick if there was a show that was that, like this? Yeah, obviously. But, like, not, it's just not that, and, like, I wouldn't necessarily want this to be that, even.
Because I don't think it could get there in a satisfying way, right?
No.
Because if, like, I don't know, I've definitely seen stories that, like, try to end with, like, okay, and now we've fixed it without having, like, a clear vision of how they get there. Whereas I think that, like, I mean, talking about Naruto broadly, it ends up being a show where, like, they're, you know, it ends up being a show with, like, characters, like, resolving to, like, try and reform things to make them better without having, like, a super clear, like, vision of what to do with that. And, like, I think that's fascinating, and I think that's, like, a really interesting through line to be, like, looking at, and, like, lens to be looking at the show through, even if that's not necessarily the intent. And I think that's, like, more interesting if, like, than if we like, we cut to, like, the final chapter and like, somehow the various, like, child soldier CAs of the world have, like, successfully made everything, like, perfect.
Yeah, that's...
Which is maybe getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but, like, I don't know. I just kind of want to establish my perspective on on this stuff, because we kind of wind up talking about, like, what we feel like this mission is accomplishing in the broader, like, framework of the world a lot in here.
I think it is important to, like, differentiate between going, like, wow, the broader implications of that, you know, in the setting, like, suck, and, like, it wouldn't be good to live there or whatever, and being like, the show is bad now because of this. It's a worse show.
Totally.
Because those are not even close to, like, the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Because the show isn't, like, trying to do that. And so, like, it would be kind of silly to, like... it would be kind of silly to, like, to come at this from an angle of, like, seeing how successfully the show is depicting my own beliefs.
Yeah. But also that doesn't mean that we can't talk about it. Because we're going to.
Yeah.
Whether we like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think overall, like, just, like, the whole stuff with, like, the village, and, like, all of that stuff was, like, kind of messy, and a lot of the things that come out of it feel, like, unearned, and just, like, I know I've said this a lot, but, like, the canned response for that, like, general situation.
Mm-hmm.
But everything to do with Zabuza and Haku, it's so good.
It's so good. Like, it is such a good... Like, it does such a good job of, like, communicating what the stakes of the world are once, like, you get out into, once you get out of the village and, like, going on missions that are, like, actually dangerous. Like, it does such a good job of, like setting up what the themes of Naruto are on a broader scale.
Yeah, right, like, and we haven't even gone into, like, I guess we have a little bit, but, like, this arc specifically is, like, where Naruto learns to be Naruto, both in, like, a person and a show.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, it's like, at the end, he's, like, resolving to, like, find a different way to live that isn't, like, just putting down your dissatisfaction with, like, these tragedies you have to, like, witness and carry out for your entire life.
Yeah.
I think, like, it presents a really compelling tragedy to, like, kick that off. And I think on that level, it is, like, extremely successful.
Yeah, and there's, like, a lot of, like, technical and, like, animation stuff where, like, Naruto... as, like, an anime, was, like, really getting into its groove and, like, starting to look like Naruto, this arc.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And it's just cool how both of those things are manifesting, like, at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else you want to say?
No, I think I've, like, I'm, like, feeling pretty, like, satisfied with how I've, like, communicated my thoughts on this arc. And I am looking forward to getting into the Chunin exams next time we record.
Yeah. What episodes are we watching?
We are watching episodes 20 through 22.
Nice. Well, we'll see you next time. Later, and remember, there's no such thing as filler.